This is the plaintiff, Tia Binns. She says she loaned her son, the defendant, money in 2011. And unfortunately, he has no respect for his mother, and she can't get him to pay her back. He has since blocked her number from his phone in an attempt to run away from his financial obligations. She's fed up with him and is suing him here and now for every penny of the $400 her son still owes her. This is the defendant, Melvin Richard Hill Jr. He says his mom abandoned him when he was 3 years old and came back into his life about 6 years ago when she told him she didn't have much longer to live due to a disease. He would go to her house twice a week, buy her food, get her medicine, take care of her. And as a thank you, she told him to buy her a TV. And now she turns around and sues him for it in court. Unfortunately, his mother's trying to take advantage of him, and he won't be a party to it any longer and wants the judge to set her straight. He's accused of making Mom mad.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says her son's a deadbeat who borrowed money in 2011 and snubbed her. But the defendant says he did a lot for his mom, and this was a gift. It's the case of family matters, but not when it comes to loans.
Have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome,
Tia Binns?
Yes, ma'am.
You are suing Melvin Richard Hill Jr., your son, for $400 that you say he still owes you, the balance of a loan that he hasn't fully repaid, correct?
Exactly.
Tell me what's going on.
Okay. I haven't seen him since Thanksgiving. I miss him and love him so much, but it got to the point he was borrowing money from me, and it got to the point it was so high, I went ahead and had him sign a promissory note that he would pay me back at some given time, and he hasn't done. He paid everything but $420.
How high did it get?
It was $620.
So when did you loan him that money? Throughout different times?
Yeah, all the way up to when he signed this, it was on February 2011.
How long had it been before that you hadn't seen your son?
Oh, it's been about 10, 15 years. Well, he came down. He was nice enough to come down when I had surgery. I had to have a tumor removed. So he came down and bought my mom. And they were there when I had surgery.
Did you raise him?
No, not really.
Who raised him?
His father.
And were you around or no?
No, I was in another state.
Doing what?
I was married to another person. His father got custody of my kids.
How did he get custody?
He just took them and wouldn't let me have them back, and I went to court to try to fight it, and I didn't have a good enough reason, so he was allowed to keep them.
All right, so you reconnect. When you say you haven't seen him since Thanksgiving
last year.
Why haven't you seen him?
He started a new job. He was working at the post office. He hadn't gotten completely set with that yet, and he was working at Wendy's, I believe it was. So he really didn't have the money. So that's when I told him, well, then go ahead and buy me a 40-inch or 39-inch Vizio TV, and we'd call it even.
But if he doesn't have the money to pay you, with what money is he going to buy the Vizio? Was that cheaper, do you?
Yeah, because the TV wasn't about $280, and he owed me $400, so I was going to let him go by with the rest of it, and it never happened.
Okay. Was any of this by text or by email?
I have one text from him where he said that he couldn't pay me this weekend, but he would pay me the next weekend. Would you like to see that?
I do. Mr. Hill, what's going on?
My mom, like she said, left when I was 3. I went down to stay with her down south in Texas when I was 15.
Did you see her between 3 and 15?
No.
At all?
No, not at all.
Did you hear a different story than the one that she said?
Yeah.
In other words, did you hear a different story than the one that she said, which is she went to court, she fought, but the custody was given to your dad?
I've never even heard any of that story.
We never discussed it with our kids.
I've never heard anything about that.
Well, it's kind of the first thing I would discuss at 15 to figure out, or once I became a man, is say, hey, where you been?
Well, yeah.
What happened? Where you been? Wow. Okay, so go ahead.
I went to school down there, and I was looking for a change of scenery from where I was.
So you were just
too.
happy to be there?
Yeah, actually I was. So,
okay.
Anyways, time goes by. I moved back up here. things happen to her in Atlanta where she gets cancer and supposed to have a few months to live. We go down to pick her up. I'm spending 2 days a week with her, if not more. At this time, she's getting phone bills, getting phone cards for her phone. So I suggest to her, hey, why don't we get, you get a cell phone on my plan. Do that. She decides she doesn't want it. During this time, I borrow money for her because I was in between jobs, changing jobs from her, yes, from her.
Okay, so how much money did you borrow from her?
At that time, it was about $600 because it was $400 for rent.
Did you end up paying $200 back?
I ended up paying more than $200.
How much did you pay back?
I paid her about, altogether, it was 3 payments of $180, $120, and $150.
All right, and what was the $600 for?
$400 was for rent, and the rest was for the phone bill. And there's probably like $30 left.
And according to you, that's your joint phone bill with her?
It was.
Because she was supposed to have kept that phone and you were still getting charged?
Correct. So
were you charged the following month?
Yes, I was charged. Well, she didn't want the phone anymore. It was under contract.
What'd you do with the phone?
I pretty much left the company because of that. I couldn't keep paying that bill by myself. Okay. So that's when I told her, hey,
Did you have a phone, a new cell phone on his plan?
Yes, I had a phone that was on his plan, and somebody else had the phone that he let me use and asked me would I make the payments on it, and I said yes. Well, then I found out I could get a cheaper phone through the government, and I didn't have to pay anything at all.
How's that sound? Does that sound true?
So I went to that
So
phone.
had that phone belonged to somebody else before her?
It was her, and then I had to give it to somebody else afterwards that couldn't pay that whole payment. I says, well, since you're under the contract, you should still try to pay.
Is she the one who got the phone fresh and new?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me then, according to you, have you paid everything?
Well, I paid, like I said, about $450.
So that would be everything, because you're saying that's everything.
Well,
so
yes,
all you
because,
borrowed then was $400?
Well, for rent, because of the phone bill, I think should be a wash since she wanted part of that too.
If somebody else took over the phone contract, then what are you out on the phone?
Well, it's basically they didn't want to take it over, and I was trying to get somebody to take it over. So pretty much,
Do you have a proof of the phone bill from that month that you're talking about?
No, I don't.
Do you have proof that you paid off the amount that you're saying? Because your own mother is saying you never paid it, and
Yes.
that you have refused to see her since last Thanksgiving. Are you trying to see him and he won't see you?
Yes, he even blocked his phone on me, so I can't even talk to him anymore.
Did you block your phone?
No, ma'am, I didn't, and that's what I was going to get to. The point is I have 3 kids, my grandson's staying with me, and I'm working 6 to 7 days a week. I don't have time to go over and see her like I used to. So sometime around the beginning of this year, she calls me up and asks me for a 60-inch flat screen TV, and I'm like,
40.
Okay.
Okay. So I couldn't get it for her, so I was like, I can't do this. So the next phone call I get from her is like, well, I found this thing where you owe me some money. What you can do is get this TV for me instead of paying me this money. I was like, well, I don't owe you any money. She goes, well, we can just call it a wash if you get the TV. So I said, I'm thinking I'll get her a TV maybe for her birthday or for Christmas or something. A couple months after that, she got the TV somehow, I don't know. So she's calling me up to ask me for $400. Where the $400 came from, I don't know.
So when one parent is out of the picture for years when a kid's growing up, can the kid as an adult ever have a good relationship with that parent? What do you think? I'm going back.
I think that you won't get the time back, but I think you can develop a good relationship if you decide to come back and genuinely be a part of the child's life.
So you think it can happen? By the way, where are you from?
North Carolina.
Oh, right. Okay, good. What do you think? I'm going to go over here. What do you think?
I don't think you can because they missed out on a lot of time with bonding and stuff like that, so I don't think.
So resentfulness is inevitable.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Going inside the courtroom.
But how come you haven't spoken since last Thanksgiving? What happened with Christmas? Were you both in the same city?
He said he didn't have time or the money because he wasn't working at the post office yet. He was only working at Wendy's as far as I knew. And I think his wife was out of a job, so they just didn't have the money to come
The promissory note that you found was authored when? What year? 2011?
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's 5 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Why in the last 5 years has this issue not come up? Have you not? You're within the statute of limitations because it's 6 years. But how is it that if he owes you this money, and not, you found it in a drawer from back then, how is it that the issue hadn't come up? How is it that you hadn't sued him
Because I
before
wasn't here, and We didn't associate or anything at that time while I was gone. Hardly. I talked to
Yeah,
him
but
every now and then.
then why sue now, 5 years after the
Because I saw that the date was going out, just like you said, Mel. I thought it was 5
You're
years.
you're on it? How did you research what the statute of limitations was?
I didn't have to research it. I watched you on television.
There you go. It's different everywhere for different things, though.
Yes, ma'am.
A little part of me can't help but feel that the reason that you're here is to have an opportunity to see your son again.
That's one.
Wow. Okay. Based on what I'm listening to, even though there's a promissory note, the date on that promissory note is so long ago. I'm kind of curious. Bring me this text again. It won't be this weekend, possibly next weekend. That is supposed to tell me that he's going to pay the
That's
money?
what he said, yes.
Okay, but that's not what this says. What this says is it won't be this weekend, possibly next weekend.
Right, 'cause I
it could
asked
be
him-
he's going to visit you. It could be anything.
Okay, but it was about the money.
Do you have any texts that actually talk about the money any time in the last 5 years?
No.
I'm sorry. My verdict in this case is for the defendant. There's a lot it sounds like there's a lot you have to forgive her for from the early days. And then it sounds like you did. And then here in the twilight of things, when we're supposed to really just be more forgiving, you've kind of just, you're done with it. I just ask you, as an adult child of aging parents, ask yourself whether there is anything about that you may end up regretting. Because it is very obvious from the notes that she writes you even now when she's suing you that she wants your love, not just your TV. You know what I mean? Good luck to you guys.
Thank you.
I hope things work out.
You have my phone? Okay, thank you.
Well, so the plaintiff's the first one out here into the hallway. Mom, here, just
Yes.
turn this way. And how are you feeling about the case now?
Oh, it's okay. At least I got to see my son.
He's standing right there.
Yeah.
He's standing right there.
And I just hope that maybe we can be closer now. I
Hey,
love that.
she's talking to you.
Yeah, baby. Can I have a hug, please? I love you, sweetheart. Thank you. Oh. Thank you so much.
You all right? You okay? All right.
Thanks. Can we go out and eat now?
All right, Harvey.
Ultimately, this is a successful small claims court case when two people, who are in conflict, when their family members can actually work things out the way this happened. I've got to tell you one thing legally. The longer you wait to go to court and say somebody owes me money, the weaker your case becomes. It just stands to reason. The longer you wait, the weaker and the shadier the case looks.